Now is the time.
Forever? Tangent. Old.
Halt.
Hashtag always MGM.
You are approaching the unloading area.
Calm down. AK haters.
But what if it could?
Behold the majesty of the Sistine Ceiling.
For the kids.
A salute to all theme parks, but mostly Walt Disney World.
Ha! What a cute ending.
Aloha and
Don't dillo it.
This is Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank. And Jen, we are here with a returning guest this week. We're excited.
Yes, so excited.
I mean, we see him in the screen here. I just want to say that because I know we're going to get deep into it. So I just want to make sure I say this first. When you and I were growing up, and we went to the parks, and before we worked in the Walt Disney World theme parks, we had a model of a cast member in our brain. I think there was like a prototype, an archetype, whatever you want to say. And our guest, Barry Jacobson, he fits that cast member archetype in my brain back then, went out to a T.
To a T. Yes.
And so that is why we're so excited to have him back here on the podcast. Barry's a leading voice in transforming the customer and employee experience. He was a guest last year. He's touched all the things along the way, the parks, the resorts, D23, Golden Oak, Club 33. He runs the gamut of Disney experiences. And, now he has his own thing at barryjacobsonconsulting.com. Go there and check it out. He's very people first, but this has been a lifelong passion of working with, customer experience and employee engagement and event management and strategic planning. So we're happy to have Barry back to talk about all the things. You see him in the box below. Barry, welcome back.
Wow, that was quite the introduction. And,
that's what I do.
Thank you. And I love being that prototype Disney cast member because, that is truly how I fell into the company and way back in 1977 during what it was called orientation, which is now traditions, where you really understood the heritage and the behaviors and the standards that made Disney what it is today. And, I loved it. And I, as I learned hospitality from my mom, but Disney really shaped and honed all those things. And, I'm sure, Frank and Jen, you were probably, running around the beach, East Beach or the West Beach at the Polynesian, or going down that slide when I was either a lifeguard or when I was a assistant supervisor in recreation back in the day, or the resident manager at the Polynesian. I mean, those are the days of really so much fun for me. And as you know, I was going to college when I took on my first job at Disney.
Yeah. No, and I'm glad Frank started that way because I didn't know what he was going to say in his introduction. But when I was listening back to our last episode, because I'm like, don't say the same things again and don't ask the same questions. All I could hear is just like joy as you're talking about any role you've had, any job you've done, bigger. You just have so much joy in your voice as you're telling these stories. So I know we said it last time, but we're so happy to have you back to hear more stories because we wanted more at the end of that one.
Well, I'm excited to be here and let's have some fun. And I even brought my circa 1977 whistle with me just in case I have to blow a whistle if you ask some crazy question.
That's true.
That'll be our sign. Like, okay, we've stepped over the line. We're running around the pool. Everyone walking feet only here.
Well, and that's why I'm glad, what's funny is we sometimes Jen and I write structures for the we write an outline for the podcast, but inevitably we will not go in the order in which we structured. So I'm glad we're jumping in right with the Lifeguard, because when Jen and I were in Orlando in the fall, we were staying at All Star Sports, and we happened to be around the pool during clearly like a lifeguard test of some kind, and we were really zoned in on one lifeguard who was just like checking a person and checking a person and checking a person. So I've never been at the pool when that was happening, and then eventually they jumped in and saved the random person. But I want to know, back in 1977, what was the lifeguard training like at the Polynesian? Because I knew you were trained already as a lifeguard coming into it.
Yeah, sure. We had to have my water safety instructor to be even considered to be a recreation host, aka a lifeguard at Disney. And I was hired at the Polynesian. And honestly, I don't think I saw guarding a pool or a beach because the original training was you're going to be as what we called ourselves dock jocks. I was out there renting those aqua larks back in the day, which turned into water sprites, which turned into water mouses, whatever they're called today. But I remember being on that dock and coming in the first day with and getting my costume from wardrobe and back in the day, I think original costume was a red bathing suit and a white shirt with the Polynesian logo, the Tiki God, and going down and meeting the team and being placed on the dock and learning how to gas the boats up and the safety instructions. And I remember going home that night and sleeping and I kept starting engines in my sleep with my hand. Because that was the motion, and you kept the boats cleaned, and then the training was absolutely, as you know, the number one key for Disney, safety. And it was way before safety begins with me. We were put through very stringent training on where to position ourselves on the guard stand. Uh, During those days, those early days, lifeguards could not take their shirt off. So we were not walking around bare chested, or we had to wear our shirts, and we were to stay in that chair and only move if indeed something occurred. We were friendly lifeguards, just like our security hosts at our parks. Please don't run. Please don't run. Thank you. I'm sorry you can't play, chicken in the pool where somebody's on your
Right.
shoulders. You can't go down the slide head first. And we had that first waterfall slide back at the Polynesian, which was so cool. But back in the day, we also had responsibility for gassing up our boats. Patrol. I
Yeah.
wasn't on lake patrol, but going to the dock and meeting with the maintenance team and making sure our boats were ready. And I worked my way through being a recreation host to being a lead in recreation, kind of the hourly supervisor of the team.
Mm.
And I loved every minute of it. Made a couple rescues in my time, and nothing too, where I had to do CPR but grabbing people out of the water. And I do remember one rescue that I did with my dear friend of mine, Mike Morgan. We were down on the dock and we had rented some boats. And in Orlando, the Navy had a base here in Orlando.
Mhm.
And a lot of those Navy guys would come out and they were on leave. And you know what happens when they're on leave. They have a few of those ales that we serve, beers. And so we put them out on the boats and, as they were going out of the Polynesian Marina. So you know this area so well, where the boats used to dock and at the end of the marina, but they were going out and they tipped the boat over,
Oh my gosh.
the little water sprite, and they were submerged. So myself, my Mike and I saw this happening. So we run down the dock, go running, and this is very true. We dove over the top rope of those
Oh,
ropes into the water and made the rescue of these sailors. And think about this: the sailor hats floating on the
oh
water,
my
getting
goodness.
them out, and they weren't drowning by any
Yeah,
means, but
Right.
it was an unsafe situation,
sure.
and
Yeah.
just great stories. And I did Pirates Point excursion as a lifeguard. I don't know if you remember that
Oh,
Mm.
offering that we had for
right.
kids, but this was like one of the most horrible things we would do is charge young children to go out on a big giant pontoon boat, take them and beach the pontoon boat over by where the Grand Floridian is today, in between the Grand Floridian and the Luau.
Oh my God.
And we would go out earlier in the day and bury this incredible treasure, marshmallows and Coke. Now imagine this. You are going to feed, anywhere between 6-year-olds and 12-year-olds Coca-Cola, a carbonated beverage with marshmallows. What a combination. The fun part about it was we got to dress up like pirates, just like the Pirates of the Caribbean, and wear that costume.
Yeah.
And we'd bring the kids back into the marina, and it was dark. And all the kids would lay on the bottom of the boat, and we would say, "Dead men tell no tales. Dead men tell no tales." And the parents are all waiting for the kids.
Yeah.
And then we would signal the kids right at the last minute to jump up and surprise their parents. So extraordinary memories of being a recreation host and working at the Poly. I got to help open River Country,
Mm.
worked at the Contemporary every now and then, and I had a blast.
Yeah, that's so cool. Oh my God. See, seriously, like you have stories to go for days that like you just tell us all the stories.
Listen, I've done some other crazy stuff too. I mean, we had a rescue once where I was on this Boston whaler, big macho
Mm.
lifeguard, and I jumped in the whaler and had to go around the Polynesian, the Samoa building, I think it was, over to West Beach by the luau. And
Mhm.
I was coming over the waves, boom, boom. And I tried to put the boat in reverse and it didn't go in reverse. And I went boom, boom, boom,
Okay.
right up on the beach with boat.
No.
Oh, yes. And jumped out, ladies and gentlemen, we have a slight emergency here. We're going to have to ask you to step off the beach. I made it seem like I was doing the right thing, but oh my God,
But you were responsible.
I was mortified, and could have hurt somebody. But most of my experiences were extraordinarily great, and I was able to work at the Polynesian and go from recreation host inside to front desk or bell services first, which is called lodging. It
Mhm.
was then it changed to bell services, and I was in the bell services area for a while, and then moved to the front desk, and that's where I kind of got a moniker back in the day as the
Yeah.
Aloha Kid.
The Aloha
Yeah.
Kid. I love
Yeah.
that. I love it. When I listened back, I was like, oh, yeah, the Aloha Kid. Before we go there, I want to just talk about the water sprites for a second, right? Because they were like two-seaters, right? And one. And so I think Jen, do you ever do the water sprites?
I
Or
feel like I don't know if I did them in that area or if I did it over by the beach club. I feel
we
like over
did
by
it.
the
I
beach
remember the
club.
beach club. I mean, I
Yeah.
did it once over at the Poly, but yeah, I
Okay.
feel like the more recent one,
Yeah.
by more recent, I mean 30 years ago,
30 years ago.
over on
Yeah.
Crescent Lake by the Beach and Yacht Club. But I guess I wanted to ask too is when Goofy would be on the water skis, and I don't think
Mm,
we ever saw this live,
yeah.
but did they come from out of the Polynesian for that, or did they come back from Magic Kingdom for that? Like, how was
Uh,
that all
yeah.
laid out, I guess?
I mean, what a great guest experience to
Yeah.
see the Disney characters like
Yeah.
Goofy going on water skis. So no,
Yeah.
they actually came out of the canal and the channel from the back of
Oh.
the house of the Magic Kingdom where the
Over by electrical water
electric
pageant.
water
Yeah.
pageant is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they would, do their costuming over there
Yeah.
and come out and make that appearance on the water. And I love that. And
That
then,
was yeah.
as a lifeguard, I actually, when I started, I was going to college. So
Mhm.
I had a great shift. It was 2 to 10 p.m. guarding the pools or working on the marina. I'd go to college in the morning and then I'd come out and do that. And I probably could figure out how many times I saw the electrical water pageant during that freshman and freshman year, sophomore year of college. Every night I would see that show, and it's still, running today. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I mean, well, we're especially me. I'm an electrical water pageant lover,
Mhm.
and especially back then when it was like, I know that how the music started, but I was more in that Handel's water music era of the electrical water pageant in the
Mhm.
80s, and and probably that's how I got into classical music and work in a classical music venue now, but but the. But it was such a, especially we went in the winter, so the parks were closing earlier. Magic Kingdom
Mhm.
used to close at 6, so you come back to the Polynesian, and that was your capper at the end of the night was the electrical water pageant at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And many years later, I know you mentioned D23, and I remember doing a D23 event actually during the Flower and Garden Festival, which is happening
Mm,
right now at
yeah.
Walt Disney World at Epcot. But we did an event and we had the electrical water pageant go by at the end of the event. And then we gave guests as their takeaway a bulb from the pageant, the float boats, the dock,
Hmm.
those things.
Yeah.
We thought we were giving people, bars of gold.
Yeah.
I would cry, Barry.
But it was again, that's what I love about the time I was able, all this body of work at Disney. It's like that being able to do what Walt did,
Yeah.
what I believe, Bob and Michael and now Josh do, and the company does consistently. Surprise and delight, go to that next level. And that was a super event. And I remember, giving these people, like, I think we gave them two burned out bulbs and with a little story with it, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And so, it all comes full circle. And that was, I don't know how many years later. So,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's tremendous.
that's so cool. Um, so as you mentioned, you kind of end up going inside the Polynesian to us, probably also especially to my 11-year-old at this point, walking in to the Polynesian lobby is like one of the greatest things ever. And it's just back in the day. I mean, Frank and I, of course, miss the big waterfall and everything there. We still wish that was still there, but we love the smell, we love the feel, we love the whole vibe of the Polynesian. But what do you think it is when you're walking into that lobby and you're all in immediately and it just feels special and it feels different, and what do you think that is, especially going back to the early days?
well, it is the Disney magic. It is
Yeah.
the theming right from the beginning, from the sense of the arrival when it was called the Polynesian Village, and the
Hmm.
exterior of the building, and the tiki gods on
Hmm.
your drive in,
Yeah.
and the even the security hut, the security shack, if you
Yeah.
will, is themed. And so, imagine like living. Where did you guys grow up? Remind me again.
New York.
New York. Okay,
Yeah.
so I grew up in Connecticut. What
Yeah.
did I know about Polynesian or Hawaii
Right.
when I was 18 years old? I had no idea about that.
Yeah,
I
you had
was
the Brady Bunch with the spider. That's all
right.
and
Yeah. I never, my parents took us to Rhode Island on our vacations to the
Mhm.
beach. I never went or knew about that. And I think the waterfall, the back in the early days when they would present you with a lei when you were checking in,
Hmm.
the costuming, it all lent itself to that feeling, and welcoming somebody with aloha, and
Hmm.
saying mahalo, thank you, and learning the small things about the culture. And I think that's where the leadership and the Disney Imagineers, if you will, created that theming, and we all played a part in that show, as Jen,
Yeah.
it's a role in the show, and
Yeah.
and if you immerse yourself in that, like we were asked to do,
Yeah.
and that was part of our role, and our purpose was to create a great vacation, but just to be able to say aloha, and that's people laugh. I was the Aloha kid because
Hmm.
I ensured that the front desk when I was working there, we stopped saying, "May I help the next guest in line, please?"
Hmm.
No,
Yeah.
no, no.
Hmm.
Aloha. Well,
Hmm.
aloha, may I assist you? Let's check in. Aloha, aloha, and reminding folks of that because that sets the stage. And I think there was something else, there it was way before there were these scents in hotels, right? The smells.
Yeah.
There was something there at the Polynesian. I don't know if it came from the Tambu Lounge or Papieta Bay or the South Seas Room. It just had a scent to it, and maybe it was the floral, the tropical. Our horticulture folks were amazing. Captain Cook's Hideaway was there. Now that's a quick service restaurant. The
Yeah.
Saltwater Express used to play in there. Um, it just had so many levels and layers of immersive experience. And I think still today, my favorite hotel.
Yeah. Can I just tangent on that? I'm already tangenting. I know. Have we already tangented? I don't know, but this is another one. Um, because you're talking about the theming, and anytime IPs get brought up, whether you're adding more IPs to the parks or the resorts. Frank and I kind of go back and forth with it because I think growing up, places like the Polynesian, places like later on the Beach Club, even Port Orleans, everything had a theme. World Showcase, every country is its own theme. You're learning about the culture. You are being immersed in that experience. And so I think sometimes when we start thinking about IPs, we're like, no, but it has a theme already. It's the Polynesian. You don't need more theming to it. How do you think that balance is going, where you're kind of seeing some slight IPs added and here and there? Do you think there needs to be more of that, or do you think we should be kind of going back to the times where it's a little more simple?
Um, I'm a big nostalgia guy,
Yeah,
and I love authenticity.
yeah,
Um, I will be completely honest. I don't think Stitch has a place at the Polynesian
yeah.
Resort.
Hmm.
Um, um,
Hmm.
Now, I will say I like the what's the Hawaiian roller coaster ride song?
Uh-huh. Oh,
I
yes.
really like that
Yeah,
song,
yes.
but I don't understand that. Maybe it's because it's not a movie that resonated with me.
Hmm.
Um, so I think there's a balance though today, and I think that's where the company is going, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. But I think what I believe is that there'll be a return to those IPs, those things that made Disney famous.
Yeah.
So if it's the Grand Floridian iced tea, or if it's the whatever the luau, making it even more authentic,
Hmm.
and not I haven't been to the luau in a while. Now, let me just say, when I worked at the Polynesian as the resident manager, and we were actually trying to hire. I was the temporary resident manager. We're trying to hire a resident manager. So Hideo Amamiya, who's a Disney legend, would say, Barry, you need to go with this guy to take him to the luau. Take him to I must have gone like
Yeah.
10 times in
Yeah.
in a week period with different candidates,
Hmm.
just to get a feel for these folks. But I think it's a balance, and it's a tough one. And got to continue to innovate, got to continue to test the waters of what's going to work and what's
Right.
not going to work.
Yeah.
And I think Disney's famous for, if it's not right, we fix it and we keep
Hmm.
pushing and we keep pushing. Today, I watched this morning Good Morning America because that's what I still do, ABC. I saw the launch of the Disney Treasure.
Mm.
I heard Josh tomorrow talk about Big Hero 6.
Yeah.
Never saw the movie, never saw and he's talking about the Tokyo San area, like I guess it's
Hmm.
Tokyo and San Francisco,
Yep.
I think.
Right.
Yep.
Shame on me. I never saw the movie. My daughter says it's great. She's
Hmm.
25.
Yeah.
She says, Dad, it's great. And I'm
Hmm.
like, okay. But if you take the culmination of what's on the Disney Treasure, you're going to get a mix of it all, right? You're going
Hmm.
to get Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Goofy and Pluto, which
Yeah.
we love.
Yeah.
And you're going to get Big Hero 6, which
Hmm.
someone's going to go, yeah. Or you're going to get Stitch.
Right.
And shame on me because I don't know the name of the other character that's in
Lilo.
Oh,
Lilo.
Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh my goodness. Um, Lilo, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get that.
Yeah.
And some child who grew up with that is going to go, oh yeah, I
Hmm.
love Lilo and Stitch. And I guess I better go watch that movie.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and it's similar, right? And
Hmm.
I think, and I do think because Jen and I both have younger kids, 11 and under from, well,
Hmm.
what do we say now? 11,
Oh,
10, and
now it's
9,
9, 10, 11.
9,
So
10, 11, right? So we're in that zone. So we also are like trying to understand the balance of things. And, character dining was our main experiences, our first experiences were at the Polynesian. So, and we ran, like, I feel like the gauntlet of different I don't know if and I looked up, I tried to pronounce all these words prior to this recording, so I'm gonna biff them all. But when Minnie's Menahui breakfast was at Papite, how do you
Pop,
say it?
Papiete Bay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Papiete Bay.
yes.
So, what is now Ohana upstairs. But Jen and I think our first experience was down in the club lounge, which was the King Kama say that.
King, King
Yeah,
Kamehameha,
yeah,
yes.
and because I think they were working on the upstairs,
Yeah.
but that was like Pinocchio, and so it didn't make in the adult brain now we're
Mhm.
like, why was Pinocchio at the end of Polynesian? So there's little things that are forgiven, but yeah, I feel like the classic, seeing Mickey and Pluto
Oh
still to this
God. Yeah.
day
Mhm.
at the Ohana breakfast is like, yeah, this is it right here.
Yeah, I think there's such a wide array of characters that Disney can utilize, and they're blessed to have that in
Yeah.
their arsenal, if you will, because when I work with other companies,
Yeah.
they don't have that same bag of thematic, immersive opportunities. If I work with an auto dealership, they're not going to say, even if it's in Hawaii, I don't think they're going to answer the phone Aloha, right? They might, but I mean, they're going to say, Starling Chevrolet, this is
Yeah.
Barry, right? They're and they can't. Can they create a character? Maybe,
Mhm.
but it's not going to work. And I think that's where sometimes Universal struggles.
Oh, for sure.
I love the new parks, but
Mhm.
I don't think there's a huge emotional connection with Woody Woodpecker or Fred
Mhm.
Flintstone, even though they're great. And I watch those cartoons,
Yeah.
right? And I
Mhm.
love them, and they're funny and they're great. Somehow, the art of Walt's genius and his
Mhm.
animators and the storytelling
Yeah.
touched your heart
Yep.
and you connected. And that's the magic of Disney, I think.
Yeah.
The having, I don't know if we said it specifically, but I worked at the studios in character entertainment, so certainly tall enough to potentially get on water skis, but I would never have gotten on water skis in my life, especially in that situation. But I know you've had some incredible, I'm sure, character interactions over the years involving guests. Is there one or two that jump out at you while we're in this character dining, character entertainment portion of the conversation?
Well, for a while, one of the roles I had at Disney was the manager of resort special activities, and that role was a precursor to me of being, the director of event management, managing all the high-profile events that we did for cast or external partners, shareholders meetings, et cetera. But back in the day when I was the manager of special activities, we created an event for the Bass family, Sid and Mercedes Bass, and it was their anniversary. And we brought in all the prince and princesses characters as they were going through courses, and
Mhm.
then they present each Prince Charming and Cinderella. Let me get this right.
Yeah.
If I mess this up, I'm in trouble. Um, they would present a gift,
Yeah.
and then Princess Aurora and help me,
Philip
Oh,
on that one,
Philip.
Philip.
Prince Philip.
Oh,
Yep.
yes, yeah, good one.
It's
Yeah.
good, you're good.
I'm a Disney Cruise Line trivia winner,
Oh,
Barry.
yeah, that's true.
I think those are magical moments, and our it was an incredible thing to create, but even doing a shareholders meeting and, you know, Mickey Mouse brings, Michael Eisner or Bob Iger out on the stage, game over, right? It's, yeah, okay, the stock was a little down, but, you still got the magic.
Yeah.
I think there's so many opportunities with, obviously I've been involved in some of the Make-A-Wish situations at Disney, and you know, doing an event with the Super Bowl. I'm going to Disney World with
Hmm.
Tom Brady, and you know, just watching people's emotional joy. I love that word joy. Just
Mhm.
go, they they fall out.
Yeah.
It's something to
Yeah.
watch. It's a wonder, and I think that is the magic of Disney. That's why I spent 37 years there. Left a couple times, as you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
but coming back and creating moments, whether it was at Golden Oak, our annual holiday party, and creating an Alice in Wonderland event, or with Mad Hatter and Alice, and all these things that you can do to play along the stories. And having a pirates weekend at Golden Oak, and everybody dressing up as pirates, and people arriving and playing the Pirates of the Caribbean theme song as that they're coming in, that incredible music. It just gets people jazzed. And that's what people want today, and that's what Disney has been doing forever, is creating experience that drive memories of a lifetime.
I want to. I mean, and that's everything, right? It's amazing what those characters can do in those moments. I want to take a moment, in a bit of a tangent. I want to debunk two things right now. Well, debunk or
Or
put a
proof.
stamp on it and say they take place. The first one is Barry, the Tangaroa Terrace. Is that how Tangaroa is, right?
Yes.
Over on where it was like Moana Mickey's Fun Hut over there was an arcade, but before the expansion of kind of like that area towards the transportation and ticket center, because there was 8 longhouses, right, and then they did a big expansion.
Yes.
This is my memory in 1981. Did I, from that restaurant, was I able to see the electrical water pageant from those windows, or am I making that up?
Okay, let me think.
I'm really gonna stretch your
I
brain, Barry.
no, I don't think you could see it from there, because the I think you could see the ferry from there, from
Mm,
the windows on the far side,
okay.
because there was a huge berm called Sunset Point on the back side of Oahu
Right. Hmm.
building 9. Oh my gosh. I promise you, there's just water. How do I remember these things? But Oahu, because Sunset Point was there. It was a big, big berm, and then the water ferry from the Ticket and Transportation Center
Right.
was there. So I don't think it went into that cove.
Yeah.
If you went out and you went up, stood on Sunset Point, you could see it. But
But you can see the ferry going back and forth from there,
you
so maybe
definitely could
that's
see. I think you could see
mm,
the ferry going back and forth.
okay.
Absolutely
So that may be where I conflated things as
Movement across the water of
possible.
some sort.
yeah.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
remember
So
the I remember the French toast at Tangaroa Terrace was pretty darn good stuff. I think before it made it to whatever Papi, well, started in Tangaroa Terrace, I think, or it could
yeah.
have been in the Coral Isle Cafe. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
Now it's
But
up
it was
in
great.
you're right, and then went up to now it's
Yeah,
like a thing at Kona Cafe. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's stuffed banana French toast, pretty darn
Yeah.
good.
Hmm. Where are you running, Frank, in that video from
Oh.
1981 on the 8 millimeter video we have of you running?
Yeah, so that
Like,
is right because I think that was the Oahu building,
mm,
which is not the Oahu. I think so because we were in and maybe Barry will be able to confirm it when I say that we were in 1936 or 1942. One was the first one with my daughter. One was
oh yeah.
so it might have been 1936, and so that went out towards the transportation and ticket center. So that was just all fields,
Fields.
I
Mm.
think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And the new pool was there. I think did
Oh,
I
there was
send
a
you?
new
I think
pool.
there's a picture of me standing in front of that pool. I might have sent you
Oh, oh,
way
because
back when I was a
Picture.
young fellow. No,
okay,
I didn't send it to you. So
No?
yeah,
Okay.
now there's the
the
old
old pool.
slide,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that guy up there with his shirt off is me, circa 1977, 70 something. Yeah, we did some publicity pictures,
that's
and
awesome.
Cool.
yeah, I was a very young guy that back then.
Yeah.
All right, Jen, I'm going to ask you to go back to these pictures in a second because I
Yeah.
feel I feel where my segue is going. The second
Okay.
story I want you to debunk, Barry, is because I feel like I don't have my glasses on. Is that a picture of Abbey Road behind you? Were you around when
Oh.
John Lennon signed off on the Beatles and
Uh,
and that's actually connected to the Beatles picture?
No, and, I have those three pictures in my office. I think the one in the middle is the animated one that
Mm.
I had that we created for a client event of the Fab Four
Hmm.
walking across
Oh,
that
nice.
road. So I have a
Yeah.
picture of the Beatles, then I have a picture of my family that
Oh,
That's
sit up
cool.
here. But
Yeah.
no, I
that's
wasn't
awesome.
around for that. But I was around in resort special activities, and I brought this guy up the elevator named Richard Nixon when I was a young
What's
uh,
that?
manager of resort special activities.
Hmm.
Mm.
And I think there was the I am not a crook kind of thing, or when
Hmm.
Nixon was in trouble.
Mm.
I remember that. And then I remember my father-in-law saying, didn't you ask him for an autograph? And I'm like, no,
Not gonna
Yeah.
ask
we would
Nixon
never
for an
do that.
autograph.
Never
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I want to segue because going into the music because I think for a while Michael Jackson owned the Beatles catalog. So,
Hmm.
and I know we have a picture of you with Michael Jackson in your photo here. So I thought maybe you could elaborate on this photo. It's a great one. I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's such a great picture of you and
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, that is back when I was at the Contemporary Resort in manager of resort special activities, and Jane Keir was my leader. She was the grande dame of managing and taking care of all the celebrities and corporate executives that came in, and Jane would always assign me as the leader to handle high profile folks. And Michael was on the float boat. Emmanuel Lewis was with him. George, oh gosh, the football player that was in the show with Emmanuel, George Callis.
Oh
George,
yeah,
Oh, hmm.
yeah. He played the
he was
dad.
on
Very
the boat. But I remember Michael saying to me he liked my topsiders. Now, that situation, when I met him, and then we had, of course, publicity people on the boat, and uh, subsequently, after when he came into the parks, I would run through the park with him. And then I was lucky enough to get some really cool tickets down in Miami to Coconut
Oh
Grove
man.
to see Michael perform with the Silver Glove.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, yeah, I was very lucky to be trained by so many great leaders like Jane Keir, who was the Emily Post of Disney, who taught me how to inspect a room, who had me work with, I did float boat cruises with Card Walker and Don Tatum and Ron Miller, Ray Watson, some of these CEOs. Yes, I'm older. But and got the fortunate in both all my roles at Disney to work with Eisner and Iger, and Josh Damaro was my leader when I was running Golden Oak and Club 33 and spas and salons. So in fact, in this story I was telling you about earlier today, I referenced a Josh quote to me that I use all the time. Ask what if and why not. Um, what if we did this and why not? And so when we were trying to develop something unique and different in the spas and the salons, my team, I challenged them, what if we did this and why not? Why can't we create Disney inspired hair and makeup? I know it's not Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, but people want this, and we did it, and the team did it, and they created it, and it was awesome. And so I think it's really unbelievable, not unbelievable, but really great for the company that Josh tomorrow is going to be a driving force. And I believe, Frank and Jen, what you talked about earlier, I think you'll see some of that Disney, uh, old time Disney stuff come back. That are the things that resonate with the guests and also for the cast.
Yeah, I mean, we love that.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of been the running joke for us over these 8 years. Like we don't like change, but we know what our kids like.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to strike the balance between those two things is certainly. And I'm glad I mentioned Josh Murray. You mentioned Miller as well, and we interviewed Neil O'Brien last summer, who wrote a great book of kind of that time between Walt's death and when the Great Mouse Detective came up. So a lot of focus on that. So I felt like I learned a lot about him during that time. And and the thing that we talked about there was how we definitely Eisner was our draw when we started getting into Disney in the 80s with him being on TV every week, just like Walt was. I mean, and Iger is definitely has that presence of mind. I think that's so important, and Josh definitely has. Jen has a picture with a selfie with
I
Josh.
do.
So,
I did. You know, you didn't get a picture with Nixon, but I got a picture with Josh tomorrow. So, you know.
but
Yeah, you know,
yeah,
it's so funny. I don't have it's interesting because the time frame that when I was working there, and I have some pictures, but it
Yeah.
wasn't prevalent like it is
No.
today with the,
right.
your iPhone, you're
Yeah.
constantly taking pictures. And I was, always respectful of the celebrities and the,
Yeah.
whoever I was working with.
Yeah.
I never would say, "Oh, can I get a picture or an autograph?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Never. But
Yeah.
I do have a picture with, standing in with some other people with Michael Eisner and Bob
Yeah.
Iger, and
Hmm.
I got to stand on a staircase with Paul Pressler and Bob Iger dressed
Hmm.
in Disneyland Paris, dressed in one of the night manager costumes because I told the cast if we're going to welcome them, I want to be in the costume. And
Yeah.
so there's a time and a place for all of that, and
Oh, yeah.
and I was very lucky to meet a lot of extraordinary people and work with some incredible cast members who had create so much magic.
Yeah. That's cool.
And then just to kind of just stay in the Polynesian a little bit, the when you do I guess when you would do front desk stuff, and really, I'm glad you talk about how your knack from leadership came a lot from out of there because of
Hmm.
how complete everything felt. Right, that the resort felt complete. From the start of your stay to your end of your stay, whenever you visit the Polynesian, everything just seemed to be connected and made sense during your stay. And when people now when they say, well, why am I going to spend time at the Polynesian, I'm just going to the parks all day. And I was like, any time that you spent there was perfect because it felt so complete. How did you maybe translate those things? And you might have talked a little bit about this last year, but I kind of want to hear it again. Into Club 33, which is a complete experience, or into Golden Oak, which is a complete experience. Is there baseline things that you can point to and go, we're doing this here because it worked there?
Well, I was fortunate, as I mentioned earlier, to work with some great leaders as a young person, a lot of great influencers who taught me how to look at every aspect, every detail, and with intention. And Hideo Amamiya, Disney legend, taught me about visual intrusion, and nothing should distract from the show.
Hmm.
And so I may have shared this story before about, Hideo calling me out in front of the Polynesian and saying, Barry, what's wrong with this picture? And we were cleaning the atriums that are on either side, taking the coins out or trash or whatever. And there were these bright orange cones. And he pointed that out to me and he goes, this is a visual intrusion. You got to figure out a way to fix it. So what I did is I worked with engineering and we found a different color cone. We found a yellow cone, which wasn't as distracting, but still brought safety. And then engineering took the Tiki God decal and put it around those cones,
Hmm.
right? So now let's go to Golden Oak. That's okay. That's circa 1978.
Hmm.
Now Golden Oak, 2013, 14, we got orange cones again. So I talked to my community association manager. I said, you got to find different cones. They're ugly. So we got white cones.
Hmm.
Guess what? We put the golden oak tree on them, and we had a lot of white in that community, and those were our cones.
Hmm.
It's the deep. It's again. I love what I learned early on. Even to the point of as a lifeguard, you couldn't take your shirt off because guess what? Nobody wants to. I mean, in those pictures, and me in the outrigger canoe, or me standing next to a tiki god that my mom or dad took the picture of. Okay, that's fine. But
Yeah.
the thing I love most is the attention detail. So, you know, Golden Oak, creating a sense of community and driving the guest experience is what we talked about on how we made decisions.
Yeah.
That's no different than when I was younger working for leaders or being a leader of leaders in other places is like, if we're making decisions, it's got to benefit the guest or it's got to benefit the cast.
Hmm.
And if you do those things, and it goes back to our brand promise and our common and our purpose for coming to work every day, that's all that stuff translates in every role in the show that I had, and whether it was working, in Hong Kong or Tokyo or Paris, the attention to detail, going to the next level, making sure everything was show ready, and then painstakingly looking at every detail so that there would be a zero margin for error, whether it was creating an event for cast or for corporate sponsors. How do you take something and elevate it? So, Walt said, give him the pickle, and make it great. I always love to take things to the next level. And, I don't know if I told you this story before, but when I was in event management, and had we had corporate alliances and participant services events. So Coca-Cola, AT&T, General Motors, we would always handle those high level folks. And when we made the deal with Hasbro, uh, later on when we opened the Toy
Right.
Story store, Alan Hassenfeld was the CEO. So, he checked into the Grand Floridian, and I said, we got to do an amenity in his room that's going to, this is the deals got signed. So I worked with Eric Herbacek, the pastry chef, and he made a chocolate mold of Mr. Potato Head, painted it just like Mr. Potato Head.
Love
And
it.
so we already had the chocolate Mickey. So
Yeah.
we create this amenity, it's in his room, and the two are shaking hands. And so I think when you, I, and did maybe through osmosis, I learned it from Jane Keir, maybe.
Hmm.
I learned from Hideo about the show aspects. There were leaders who shaped me, even getting yelled at for reading my textbook on the lifeguard chair by Ella Wright Osmond, God rest her soul. I'm sure she's passed away. She was the director of housekeeping, but she
Mm.
was the duty manager that night. And she said, young man, can't read your book. I said, there's nobody in the pool. It was one of those like freezing nights that you talked about.
Hmm.
And I'm saying to myself, well, wait a minute, there's nobody around. I'm trying to study. And but she was right because I wasn't following proper procedure, right? I was not paying attention to our number one tenet, which was safety. So everything translate. And I think the other thing at Golden Oak and Club 33 is it was always about putting on a show and doing something next level for the members. So at Golden Oak, I I thought it would be really cool in this community, just like we used to have when we were kids. The good humor man used to come around with the ice cream truck, right? Well, I said, what about an ice cream bike? So we went and commissioned, we got a bike made, painted
Yeah.
it, tricked it out with Golden Oak logos on it, dressed up one of our food and beverage managers in the white on white, and he
Hmm.
pedaled that bike around and was handing out Mickey Mouse ice cream bars.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I learned how to create magical moments.
Yeah.
Maybe they weren't called magical moments in 1977 through who knows what,
Yeah.
Hmm.
but that's the Disney difference.
Yeah. No, and it is such a difference from anywhere else. And I do think that if you are probably the right person going in with the right mindset and you're starting to work at Disney and you're starting in traditions and learning all the things, all of that just stays with. I mean, I haven't worked in the park since 2006. Same for my husband, maybe 2007 for him, but we will still, if we're at a hotel, another theme park, a store, and we see things, we'll be like, that's bad show. That's bad show right there. That's what are they clumping? They shouldn't be talking in a group like that. They should be welcoming. Like you just once you've really been exposed and you, like you said, all the osmosis happens from all the you're on stage, you're this, you shouldn't be doing. You can just see it everywhere, and it's amazing how that stays with you. And I think that, and it's great if it can stay with you and even take you to new places and doing different things because it can carry over in this great way. And yet I also feel like I don't know that anyone gets it 100% like Disney though. Like I don't know that they try and that's great, but I don't know. I think Disney's still kind of, you know, sets the
No, I
bar.
think I totally agree with you. I think it is that next level thinking about what's going to make somebody walk away and say that was special.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to always be giving something away or doing whatever. It's thanks for your business and
Mhm.
mahalo. Can't wait for you to come back next time.
Yeah.
Have a safe trip back home to upstate New York, wherever you live. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think people love that small detail that we talk about, meaning Disney
Hmm.
insists upon. And
Yeah.
as I go out now in my consulting business, I try to help organizations see those things that you
Hmm.
just talked about, Jen,
Yeah.
that are the details that make a difference. And I'm working with an organization right now, and we're talking about, okay, what's our rope drop going to be?
Yeah.
Well, hey, we could do some variation of Hidden Mickeys because they love Disney, right? And
Hmm.
and what's our gonna how are we gonna be deliberately different than anybody else? Anybody can open X. I can't
Yeah.
what it is, but what's gonna separate you from anybody else? And I think that's where the training, the
Hmm.
traditions, the heritage, and the insistence upon the standards
Yeah.
make a difference for the Disney company.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And I think that, I similar to Jen's point where I do a lot of hiring, and if they have Disney on their resume somewhere, they're getting an interview and they're like, oh, it's just because you like Disney and that's why you wanna. And I'm like, no, I know, and I do this for a couple other companies that I know too, that they went through a training program that emphasizes what it takes to make an experience. And it's like, and maybe it didn't work out for them when they worked there, and I'll find that out in the interview. But I know at least if they have that on their resume, they went through the process. So there's a chance, because where I work, there's an experience being provided that they will understand those concepts and those ideas, in a quicker arc than maybe somebody else.
Mhm.
And it's every detail from the way you answer your phones, and that's, what a great way. I mean, just if you could answer your phone in a pleasant manner, right?
Right.
We're very blessed at Disney, right? The theme, howdy and aloha and welcome home, and I don't think the Contemporary Resort has one, but and speaking of that, I do think, and this is a great idea for Josh. You know, let's do the year of the mouse or the year of Disney and
Mhm.
do the nostalgia things.
Yeah.
And go find all those costumes that the Contemporary has gone through for the past
Yeah.
how many years, and just put them on display, and bring back the good old peanut butter pie and the clam chowder and
Hmm.
Narcoossee's and the peanut butter pie and the Grand Floridian Cafe, and go back to the Polynesian and find those old recipes, and bring back the Monte Cristo on Main Street, right?
Hmm.
I think nostalgia plays, and I think there's enough of us, and even if you have kids,
Hmm.
you're walking down Main Street and you go, oh no, you got to try this Monte Cristo. I know it sounds crazy, but it's got jelly and ham and cheese, and it's got powdered sugar on it, and the kids are going to go, yeah, right, Dad,
Yeah.
you're crazy. But it was a horribly
Yeah.
delicious thing, right? And I,
Hmm.
I think the there's ways to create magic in every business. And I think Disney does a great job at it, but I think every other business can do it with just common sense, dignity and respect for your employees and for your guests, your customers, because that's what's going to bring them back.
Yeah. 100%.
I think after we had our conversation last year, I'm trying to think of the timing. I think it was right before I left for Disneyland, and then the episode dropped after I went to
Mhm.
Disneyland, and I couldn't get over because it was the first time I visited Disneyland, so I couldn't get over how much nostalgia I had for a place I'd never been to.
Mhm.
So I think I want to ask you, since now we're really looping in that nostalgia theme.
Mhm.
What still brings you nostalgia
Mhm.
whenever you might be around the parks in the area, reading content about one of the things that spark your nostalgia uh, I don't want to, what do I want to call it? Just what sparks it? I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, I still light up when I see the characters in the parks.
Mhm.
I love it. I just was at Epcot with my daughter and watching her get the Figment popcorn bucket, uh,
Yeah.
and watching her smile,
Mhm.
right? And trying the Figment cake or getting my picture taken with Pinocchio like I did about 9 months ago. I think, the walking through the Polynesian for me, I mean, I can walk that resort because I worked
Mhm.
there from 77 to 81. Then I was back again 90 to 93. I ran through that place. I knew every place. And I can walk by where Trader Sam's is, right? Am I getting that
Oh
right?
yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's where Cat Corner was. That's where my office was. And that's where I was hanging on the phone talking.
Yeah.
This is where I got my haircut from Grady from 1977 to this time. And
Mhm.
I think I told you, Grady was a famous barber at Disney, and he was a dear friend of mine. I have his scissors in
Yeah.
my
Wow.
curio cabinet, and Grady Weiss name tag, look, my office has, the trophies that you get, this is all here. I have a signed elephant from Judson Green, late Judson Green, for when we opened up. I'm looking at it right now, and that guy was dear to me. And a little signed elephant, thanks for all you did to help to get this place open. And looking at a picture of Jody Dreyer, who was the uh, senior vice president and corporate synergy for Michael Eisner, for the opening at the Disney Institute. And I'm sitting there, holding one of those old radios, uh, and in fact, at the end of the month, about 30 of us are getting together here at my house, the old events team.
Oh no.
Oh, so
One of
cool.
the Diane Connors, who's the vice president of special events for Buena Vista Pictures and for
Mhm.
Eisner on the West Coast, she's coming to town, staying in my house. So I've got all these people coming in. So the stories,
Love that.
the times, the things that we did, and shareholders meetings. So I think everything is in your DNA. It's all in my DNA,
Yeah. Mhm.
Disney DNA.
Yeah.
That you have that emotion, and I found this picture, and both my parents passed away young. My mom at 57, my dad at 64, and I don't know how I found this picture recently. It's a Polaroid. I don't know if you
Mhm.
can see it.
Mhm.
That's my mom and dad at the Polynesian
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
wow.
when they came to visit me,
Oh,
Love it.
and
yeah.
so. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's
We
it
can
right there.
tear up if we want, and I know I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
That's what brings back the memories, or you know, guarding the West Beach and saying hello to the auntie, whatever her name was, auntie. I can't remember her name, but she would always say hi to me. I'm a
Mhm.
dumb, like 18-year-old kid. What am I? Who am I? But she always say hi, and I would say hi, and she passed away probably about 10 years ago. But I mean, every portion of walking in that park, and Frank, you did this. I know you probably felt like I felt at Disneyland. This is where Walt walked, right?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
You were like, oh my gosh. And now with Leslie Iwerks' film, it's like,
Yeah.
oh
It
my
all
God.
that stuff is so great. And yeah, I think there was definitely like, the initial first steps in and things like that. But on the third day, and because you don't get to do this in the Magic Kingdom as often anymore, we ended up grabbing a ride on the fire truck, on the truck down from the castle to the front of the park, and just taking the truck down. There's several pictures that were taken of me that I'm just like just staring. Like I was like, that's when it really hit me of like, oh, this is it. This is the origin story right here.
Exactly. And I think the other things that resonate with me is that every time I go into the Magic Kingdom and I see the Barbershop Quartet, and those guys have changed, all those years, but
Right.
since 1977 when they were there to today, it's still a great show. and
Yeah.
they're incredibly talented.
Hmm.
Or the guy that playing the piano at Casey's.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
These are the most incredibly talented people who bring the park to life for all of us. And I think those things, because now when I go, like I'm going to Epcot tomorrow for the Flower and Garden Festival, and I still enjoy just walking around and just seeing people having fun. And of course, now that, they got all the new menus out for Flower and Garden. I was at whatever the last one was, I can't even remember. The
Festival
Festival
of
of
the
Art.
the
Arts.
Yeah.
Arts.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Man, I can't keep up with it. Festival of the
Yeah.
My wife and I are going tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. I said, "Oh, we got to
Yeah.
get this." I saw this lemon meringue kind of thing. I was
Hmm.
like, "Not on the diet, but I'll get a bite."
Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely, and that, and they, and that's the thing. It's so we said balance a lot, I think,
Hmm.
in this hour or so of, trying to find the balance of what still touches the things that we loved in previous years to these new kind of experiences that we can enjoy. It really goes a long way. Last year, you touched on this briefly, so I know you got the book in the works. So I thought maybe you could share a little update and where we're at.
Yeah, I think we're right at about 50 chapters now. It's a collection of stories that are true stories that actually happened throughout my career, whether most of them at Disney or situations that happened with me at various different places around that I've visited. And it's a collection of stories that help people learn. There's some takeaways at each one, and they one of them, and you may recall this story about us drying the grass at the Grand Floridian. We had a convention client who had an early morning event on the lawn, and the water it was all wet from overnight, and
Did you?
and so that story's in there. And George Kalogridis, the former president of Walt Disney World, and my boss at the Grand Floridian at the time, I was the resident manager. We got to dry this grass, so we marshal everybody and the guys with the leaf blowers and pool towels. But that's a story of teamwork, and that's a story about solving to yes, and it's a story about never saying no, and so that's in there, and so that's what the book is about. I'm hoping within the next 90 days or more, we'll get it almost done. It's a lot of work. My wife is
Sure.
helping with it. She has her own marketing and advertising business. She's very creative, and so she has it now. She's been working on it diligently the last 2 days, sitting at our kitchen table and has not moved for 8 hours these past 2 days. And so,
Well,
but
we're
I'm looking forward
excited.
to it. And really, it'll be from Main Street USA to your street,
Yeah.
building a culture of excellence. That's the working title.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, you know that we'll be reading it, so
That
Yeah,
will be.
and maybe there'll be 50 more chapters before it's done, but
will be.
I'm doing all of them.
No, and then that we can complete we'll have a Barry trilogy of podcast
That's
episodes when
right.
the book drops.
That's
We'll
right.
do this all
Exactly.
again.
Yes.
Um, we really have appreciated connecting like this over the past year with and through the old LinkedIn as it were as it started and in these two episodes, but also a couple of times you did a nice video for us for our 400th episode back
Mhm.
in September. So it's just again, Jen and I kind of marvel at you know the 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 people, the cast members, the artists, whatever, the Imagineers that kind of have shaped our experiences over these years, and it can be last year, it can be 30 years
Yeah.
ago, it can be whatever, to be able to talk at length about these things and things that we both, not Jen and I, but you too, that love and have joy for,
Yeah.
I think is really special. It's why we love doing this, the podcast and being able to hear your stories so others can hear them and definitely the fact that the book is going to be like story based,
Yeah.
like how can you not want to grab this book when it's ready, Barry? We're so excited.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to write a book that's all about Barry. It's really things that have happened,
Yeah.
uh, you know, uh, things that, like at Disneyland Paris during a rainstorm, how we're going to get the board of directors and Bob Iger and Michael Eisner out of Cinderella's royal table and back to the hotel safely. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. You'll have to read about it.
There
But
you go.
Yeah.
it was again, that's that's the magic of Disney. It's all about relationships and people. It's knowing you and Frank. And
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be in roles at Disney where I had to connect with so many people around the company to get things done. That's why when I was general manager of D23, people knew who I was because I had
Yeah.
worked with them throughout my career, and getting all those business people to work together with Stephen Clark and others. And Michael Vargo was my production manager at the time. Now he's the head of D23. Pulling that off was a marvel. And so it's about relationships. The story in Paris was about picking up the phone and getting something done with someone to make it happen, and doing it all with collaboration and communication. That's another thing I think is unique about Disney, is that people want to help.
Hmm.
It's not a company where it's like, no, sorry, nope, nope, nope,
Right.
nope.
Yeah.
That's not the way it works, and that's why it's so successful.
Yeah.
Jen, am I missing anything here before
All
we?
right. Before we go, I
Yeah.
have to ask, and maybe there's no answer to this, and that's okay too, and we can always cut it out then. Have you seen that a Hallmark movie next year will be coming out based in Disney, where they're doing a lot of filming at the Polynesian? I didn't know if you saw or heard anything about that or had any thoughts on that.
I've seen parts of it, and on little clips,
Yeah.
on the Disney blogs,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to watch it
Yeah.
because I love the Poly,
Yeah.
and I feel like some days I still have my radio strapped to my side, or my BlackBerry, and my beeper,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
have Hideo in my ear, or Drew Weaver, or David Welch, or Dennis Reed, or the cast, even to this day, people that I worked with at the front desk,
Mhm.
we still stay in touch. And I just saw a picture of that was on Facebook, where this person that I know had on the old muumuu, the Polynesian,
Yeah.
like, I don't even know what color. It wasn't green, it wasn't blue, but it was wild. And you look at that, and I may have told you this, but years later, when my parents sold their business, my mom worked in wardrobe at the Polynesian.
Mhm.
Oh.
And so it's like this circle of life,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to watch that movie. And
Yeah.
now you've reminded me that I need to go to the Polynesian, because I have not been in that resort for a while. I was just at Animal Kingdom a couple weeks ago, but I've got to get over there.
Well, now that you're going to Epcot tomorrow, you just
Yeah, I
stop
might
on
have to
over.
pop by.
Barry, thanks so much. BarryJacobsonConsulting.com is the website to just learn more about Barry and the services he offers, the talks that he has, and the training he provides. Make sure you check that out at BarryJacobsonConsulting.com. Barry, this is always just it's joyful. It's joyful to talk to you.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I really enjoyed spending time with you, and mahalo from the bottom of my heart.
Mahalo, Barry. I'm gonna
Don't want to make us cry, Barry.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
The Dillo's Diz podcast is hosted by Frank Cardillo and Jen Cardillo Snyder. Music produced by Matt Harvey. Logos and video production courtesy of Snidillo Studios. Dillo's Diz Resort is our Patreon, with tiers starting as low as $1 per month. You can visit dillosdizresort.com to learn more. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, X Twitter, and Facebook at Dillo's Diz. Check us out on YouTube by visiting youtube.com/DillosDiz. Don't forget to like and subscribe while you're there. We also have merch available on TeePublic and Etsy. For all this and more, visit our one-stop shop, dillosdiz.com.